I signed on to that. When you bring it up, whisper.net on the computer, that site's going to come up. And on that site, it's going to say login. Well, when I attempt to log in, it's going to say first time user, and it's going to allow me to log in. And then it's going to take about 2 or 3 days for them to get the information at Princeton University, and then they're going to send me back with my password. They're going to send me back access to the internet for this site. So now, besides using the DX Explorer, which the Soda Bean puts out their information, I could also use Joe Taylor's too. I could go to his site. Now, they do have some problems with the map on that site. There is a little conflict right now between Google and Joe Taylor's group. They're trying to register it as a non-profit so they don't have to pay. But in the left-hand side, it's going to say alternate map. And you could click on that, and it will go to that map. See if I have it here. Which will look like this. I'll pass these around later. Now, up above here, it has everything that you have. You put your call in, you put the amount of hours, you put the bands that you're working, then you do a search, and this comes up. And from here, you could also go to, on the same site, they're going to have a page. They have two, and it's going to do like the DX Explorer does. It'll give you your signal to noise ratio. It'll give you all the stations that you connect. It does those two things. Okay, this is the original Joe Taylor site. You saw that in the beginning. Right. Now, the way I have mine set up, on my computer, I happen to run Google. It has the bookmarks and the bookmarks bar. Now, the bookmark bar is right up in front of you. The things for this here, I save in the bookmarks bar, so I can have quick access to them. Now, one thing I save is the official NIST US time. And when I'm going to run this, I click on this, and then I watch it. And when it gets to an even minute, that's when I do like the gentleman did. I press it, and it starts to transmit. This allows me to do that. Now, just like it was mentioned in the video, the reason they start everything on an even minute is because it cuts down QRM. Any kind of interference is done if everybody does things at the same time. That's why they do that. Now, if you do a search, if you do a whisper search, it's going to have an alternate site you could pick up, which is this here. If you don't click on it within his description on the site, they're going to have one that you could actually download. Now today I ran a test with one of my antennas, and I went to the DX Explorer, and I pulled up the information. It has 4 things on there. Let me see if I have it here. Right, here it is here. It has 4 things. This is what it looks like here. You saw that on the presentation. Now, the first thing is the DX table. And I printed it out. And that's going to give me the distance that these calls were received, the call letters, who received them, the amount of times that the person received it. Like this one right here is 6 times they received it. Down here's 5, down here's 1. Okay? And it's going to give the average distance down here, 3954 kilometers. The next thing I went to was the DX graph. Now this here, to the left here, is kilometers. This is my signal on 40 meters. When I started, it went up. After a while, it gained some more. Then it flat topped. Okay? When you do this, you could choose the amount of hours that you want a response on. 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. So if I put down 1 hour for this, it might show a smaller graph. Okay? But just for the simple reason I put down longer time, I wanted it to, just so you could see. Okay? Now I went to the spots map. And that gives you, that's going to give you the spots. And those spots are going to be color coded. And a yellow is going to be good. A red is going to be bad. And if you run your cursor over that, you could get the signal to noise ratio. Now the final one is the spots table. And that's going to give you the amount of spots, and in my case, for the 3 hours I ran it, I had 268 spots. So my signal was received 268 times.
Are these all volunteers that run the receivers, or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're hams like us. I mean, throughout the world, but they're going to be running where this here is just a transmitter.
Yeah.
They're going to be running the full computer thing, and they can transmit and receive. And then their computer is going to be set up to automatically upload the information every 5 minutes or whatever.
Would the Whisper device, if they're running JT8, would they be receiving this signal?
Not sure. I'm not sure.
They have to be running the same program.
Yeah, I would say so, yes. Because right now you're getting out of my expertise. I deal with Whisper. I don't deal with the others. Now it's also going to have here the signal to noise ratio. The power's all going to be the same, and it's going to have the distance. Now, in this picture here, and you saw it on the video, you're going to see 2 different colors of ink. And this is on the DX10 graph. This is when you compare 2 antennas. One antenna is in one color, red. The other antenna is blue. So you're going to see how they match up. And I've done it with mine, and my off-center fed dipole runs rings over my long wire. Now, what I brought with me here is the unit. Okay? Now, you could get now the gentleman explained this, where this and the connecting weigh about the same. So You could, for expenses purposes, you could buy this for a couple of bucks. This might cost $7 or $8, but it's flexible and it doesn't put any strain on the connector. So I have that, but I wanted to bring it just to show you. Now, you could run this on your Apple charger, which I do when I'm running it all night. And at one point there, they talked about on how they sell an item that'll equal the power because the battery will run down. That's because if somebody's going to run it for 3 weeks or something, and you have it out in the field. Now, I run mine 24 hours. This is not going to run out in 24 hours. It'll be fine. In fact, I have in my setup home, I have a little monitor that monitors the power coming out, and this puts out 5. It's actually 5 volts, 5.529 or something. And this takes 0.2 of an amp, where this here has a full amp. So this is well within reason. And same thing for this. Now I have this set up here plugged into a dummy load. The dummy load is going to be my antenna. Now, first thing I'm going to do is plug this in. Now when I plug it in, you'll see it start to blink. Now normally I would go onto the internet, I would pull this up, and I would engage it on an even minute, because again it cuts down on the interference. But because I'm running into a dummy load, it really makes no difference because I'm not transmitting any place out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press this, and now it is transmitting. It's a solid color, just like you saw when the gentleman did it. Now this'll go approximately 1.75 minutes, just under 2 minutes, and it will go off. And at the 2-minute mark, maybe 15 seconds later, it will blink green to tell you that it's working and it's just an even minute. And then it'll just go on, because when I set mine up, I set it up for a 20% thing, so it's going to transmit about 6 times an hour. You could set it up for more, but it's not necessary. Okay? Let's see here. Okay, we'll just let this go. I brought a low-pass filter just to let you know that when you're operating any place other than 30 or 20 meters, you require a low-pass filter. If you're using the Flexi, it requires it for everything. In my system home, I have one of these already installed, so it's not a problem. Okay. See if I got questions. Let me have some questions. Okay. I'll do the best I can answer.
When you receive your signal, I guess you get it on the internet.
Yeah, I don't receive it, I transmit it. That's what this does.
You look for your call sign? No,
Yeah.
not
When you set this up, remember when he set it up in the configure utility, you put in your call sign.
So you are now looking for your call sign?
Yeah, but hold on. What you do is you put in your call sign, and then you go through everything, and at the very end, it saves everything, and then it goes to your browser. What you do is you click on that, and you save that. I save it, just like I told you that on my Google, the bookmarks bar, I save that to the bookmarks bar. And any time that I'm running, I just click on 20 meters, and it's going to give me the fresh outlook, what's going on. If I'm running 40, right now I have it set up on my computer for 40, and I have it set up for 20. I have 2 of these. Do I need to? No. But I got it because the fellow that was doing it was 2 hours on one, then he went with an antenna switch, 2 hours on the other one, he went back again, and then he went and he did this graph that I just showed you, that's the 2 different colors, and this here duplicates it to the best time possible, because you're doing it all during one day, 2 hours of intervals.
And when it
Okay?
shows you your signal strength, does it show you the time of day
Yes.
that it's received?
Yes. Yes, it does. All these graphs, see in this chart right here, the spots thing, it's going to give the date and it's going to give the time. It's going to give all that. It's going to give the signal to noise. It's going to give all that. And here's the one we were talking about before, as far as comparing. Now you see it went off. So now it's going to take a break, and it's going to do it 6 times. It's going to do it 6 times a minute. Now, if you don't, now let's say you're not using this configure utility, you're going to Joe Taylor's. Remember I told you I signed up for? Or you can go to an alternate map. There's another one. Then you just put in your call sign, and you put in the band that you worked, and you do a search, and it's going to bring up all the same information. Because when everybody uploads everything, they upload under your call sign. So when you go do a search, you're going to get everything on your, that comes up for your call sign. Okay? More questions?
Just a very quick one. I was distracted at the beginning of the presentation. Who turned you on to this stuff?
Well, you know something? I went
Because
on.
Fred's played with this.
Yeah.
But I was just curious.
I was on the internet,
Right.
and for the simple, because I have a very conservative antenna system, like I told you, off-center fed dipole and a long wire. Well, I want to know how they perform,
Right.
and I don't have the time. I'm retired now, but before I wasn't,
Right.
and I don't have the time to come home and do this.
Right, but did you have a mentor on this, or this was just
No,
something
no,
you
I
found on
did.
your own?
That gentleman that you saw is my mentor.
Taylor, gotcha. Yeah, okay, fine. No, I think I
Not
know
Taylor,
him.
no, the other one,
The other guy.
the
British
one
guy.
from English.
Okay.
Yeah, from England.
Right, and not to be a wise guy, but did he ever try firing up the loop on his nose to see how that would come out?
Well,
One
you know
observation.
something. You could see the first one he was younger.
Right.
The second one
Yeah.
was a little older.
It was
The ring
gone.
is
It was gone.
But there's an observation that reflects on a presentation I did several months ago. Who needs to buy an internal loaded loop? People with no other alternatives. What did he himself say when he looked at the readout from his loop? He says, overall, it's lousy. By the way, it also demonstrates sharp nails off the ends.
Yes.
Point made? You buy one of those when you have no alternatives.
The idea with this is, that you can compare your antennas, and you can get all the information while you're sleeping. You can let this thing run all night. That's what I do. If I start the thing at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know what I mean? I'll go 24 hours and then I'll turn it off. Then I'll get my results. I always do 24 hours because I want to go through a whole cycle. And if you go to Joe Taylor's site and the alternate site, they show the map, and it's going to show the daylight hours and it's going to show the nighttime hours by a shadow over the earth, and you could still read it, but it'll do that.
And when you go and you look at where your signal has been received, can you also see the other signals around the world? And if you see somebody near this area, you can see what his capabilities are as well?
The only thing it's going to show me is when this beacon works, It's gonna go with all the information you put in. You put in your call sign. You
Now,
put in
when
your
I'm
grid
in
location.
somebody else's beacon, you can read what their capabilities are as well.
Yeah, you could do that if you put their call sign in. You know, you remember in the comparison mode, you just pick, and it said there that you could go on the DX Explorer, I think it's on the lower one, you could see which ones are active in your area, and then you could plug that call sign in, and it's gonna upload that in a
So you
comparison.
can see how I compare to you.
Right, I could do that, and then you're gonna get this again. But it's gonna be directed for your site, and it's gonna be even though you may live in White Plains, and I'm in Stamford here, doesn't matter, because your grid locator is with your call sign when you do this,
Thank you.
okay? Questions, some more questions. I think, you see, you know, for me to do the presentation in the detail that this gentleman went into, you know, I can't do that because he's on top of it. But I wanted to use the CD of the two things to try to explain things here, plus my explanation. What you have here is this is Joe Taylor's site, the whisper.net, where DX Explorer, that's the one that looks like this. This is soda beans. And again, I could use both. I could go on this and read it just because I logged in, and I put in the same thing. I put in my call sign, this, that, and and I'm gonna do a search, and it's gonna just upload, do all the information. Or I can go to this.
So when are you coming over to check my antennas?
Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pass this around so you can see it. Now, I don't think you need the dongle, I mean the power for it, but this here,
That's pretty cute.
okay,
It is like,
there's nothing to it.
So
You see,
we're gonna auction that off.
Yeah. The difference between Joe Taylor's and this is, everything is self-contained here. What you see, that's it. And where Joe Taylor's requires the computer, your radio, sound card, you gotta get everything to jive for it to work. To me, that's a little bit too advanced. And besides, you could take this out to the field, and in one of the parts there, it showed where the fella just put it in a plastic box and had the antenna lead sticking out, and you could run it for 24 hours, you know, in all kinds of weather. And then when you're home, you could check it out. Then you could drive back again and pick it up. This isn't an expensive item. It costs $70-something. Yes.
This has a very small.
Yeah, that's where my power would go into, or where I program it.
All right, now is that the same fitting
Yeah,
that would go
Ron,
on the
make sure.
cable for what do you call it, an Apple?
Yes.
Port? It's the same.
Same thing.
Same thing.
One?
So because for the regular UAS it's still bigger.
It won't be the same as your phone, but as far as
Oh, but they give you a cable.
as far as a charger's concerned, it'll go to it.
Okay.
Now, when you buy this, I bought the unit, and I bought the cable, and I don't know if there's much more you had to buy.
So they sell a separate cable.
Yes, they sell the cable.
Something else.
And he take
You're not doing very well.
Come on, guys. We've got, so far the kitty.
Good work. We're gonna try
So, Was it informative enough for you?
Yeah.
Did
no,
did
we've
it
heard
answer some of the?
descriptions- We've heard descriptions at a very high level though. You
I know,
what I'm
I
saying?
know,
So this
you
fills
know,
in the particulars,
I,
is all I'm saying.
I've seen the high level ones.
Right.
And,
I know Fred kind of got us going in that
you
direction.
know,
When he started using some of the reverse beaconing systems.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it as the total solution you presented.
if you go to Joe Taylor's site
Right, I will.
and
I've seen his call sign all over the place.
yeah, and I'm trying to look for a.
So needless to say, he's K1JT, right? But no, I see him writing articles all the time.
His is going to look like this. You're going to set it up like so. His screen is going to look like this. It's going to be more computer driven. Another one, but remember this Joe Taylor's one you could receive also, and you could upload your reports. This you can't. But I'm not concerned about that. I just want to know how my antenna's doing. Let somebody else just upload my reports.
Right. You know, the other thing I would tell you is since there's such a dearth of people on the airs these days, it's difficult to really get a feel for how the antenna's getting out. You just don't have a million operators out there to give you a signal report anymore.
Nope.
And that can lead you to the assumption your antennas aren't working. When they're working all right, there's just nobody listening where they're pointing.
Well, you know something, there's a lot of times people don't want to even bother doing that. They don't want to give you the information. Just here, you go to bed, you plug it, you let it run for 24 hours.
Passive mode and you're done.
But the only thing is, you'll notice that he compared the two antennas. He undid one and then started the other one, and then he reversed it. You can't run two of them because you're going to overload one to the other one. If the antennas are like 20 feet apart, you're going to do damage. So you got to use one or the other. Okay?
All right, thank you. Great job.
Okay.
Great job. We're going to try this. Especially since the price of entry is so low, you know?
I think it's $77.99 for the one that I have.
Well, let's maybe add
DX Engineering. Go to DX Engineering and put in Whisper, and you get the information.
you know, on some of that
And
stuff.
They got the little leads too.
They got the leads too.
Regarding your comment about DX Engineering and cooperating with some of these guys, whereas other companies won't do business with them, you know, lately it's been kind of a trademark of theirs that if there's someone out there that kind of competes with them, they don't necessarily compete directly with them because they kind of embrace their product and make it their own. They did that with one of the